We live in a beautiful nation with a wealth of possibilities, industries, and resources, all exemplifying the hard work and dedication of our citizens and our working class. Our agriculture industry is unlike any other. It is vital to our domestic and foreign economy with grain production, livestock, fruits and vegetables, produce, agri-food, and so much more. As Canadians, we should be proud of our farm families who carry the burden, I would say the moral obligation, to feed the world. For that, Canadian agriculture must be environmentally and economically sustainable. Canadian agriculture is the gold standard on sustainable agriculture, with world-leading innovation and practices like zero-till, precision agriculture, 4R nutrient stewardship, and incredible soil health.
And they have such technology now where they've mapped all the fields, and it tells you the exact amount of fertilizer they should use at the exact time to the decimal spot.
In fact, Canadian farmers have doubled their yields while at the same time reducing inputs and emissions. No other Canadian industry can make such claims. However, instead of being proud of the achievements of our hardworking farm families, the Liberals are punishing with higher carbon taxes, crippling red tape, and now enforcing and handcuffing them with severe fertilizer emissions reductions. There are consequences to these decisions.
A new report out this morning says people in Ontario using food banks for the first time. The number of that group has risen dramatically, and the food banks may not be able to keep up.
1.5 million Canadians used food banks in 1 month alone. We must ensure farmers have all the tools they need to ensure Canadians are food secure and food is affordable. As a Member of Parliament for a rural riding of Foothills in southern Alberta, I am so proud to represent the farmers in my riding, and I will always work to ensure that their family farms are sustainable and successful.
What will it take for the Prime Minister to cancel his plan to triple the tax on food, fuel, and farmers?
Our farms employ thousands of folks in my riding and millions of jobs across Canada. And the use of fertilizer is an incredibly important economic factor in our communities. It generates more than $134 billion in production in 2021 alone. The crippling of our generational farms will affect every corner of our country and destroy our production and trade from this industry within Canada. No matter what you grow or where you grow it, this policy will impact you.
We will raise our emission reduction ambitions.
In late 2020, the Government of Canada set a reduction on greenhouse gas emissions by 30%. As part of that plan, they want to reduce emissions from fertilizer also by 30% by 2030.
The work we have to do, yes, is ambitious, but is also realizable.
However, countless reports have stated this goal is wildly unrealistic and unachievable by farmers without putting our production and our exports in jeopardy.
If you reduce the amount of fertilizer, yields will go down. That is an absolute, and every producer will tell you that. If they want to reduce the use of fertilizer, that means it's going to affect every Canadian. This is not an urban versus rural issue, not an east versus west issue. If you eat food in Canada, this bad policy by this Liberal government is going to affect you, and food prices are going to continue to rise. It's going to hurt the most vulnerable once again. And it's just bad public policy put forth by a government.
And is only going to get higher as the NDP Liberal Carbon Tax Coalition wants to triple that carbon tax. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business recently conducted a study indicating 72% of farmers will be forced to reduce their yields, and overall food production will be reduced if this Liberal policy is carried out. The Liberals are imposing these punishing policies on Canadian agriculture despite our farmers being amongst the most sustainable and efficient in the world. Farmers have adopted practices to reduce their nitrogen emissions, utilizing such things as tillage, annual soil testing for nitrogen, rotating their crops. Emissions from agriculture in Canada are just 8% of our total GHGs. In contrast, the global average is 26%, highlighting just how efficient and incredible our Canadian producers are. Canadian farmers are not polluters. In fact, Canadian agriculture is not the problem. It is part of the solution. And the Liberal government needs to understand that. Join me today in signing e-petition 4133, which calls on the Liberal government to abandon their aggressive 30% emissions reduction target on fertilizer, protect our agriculture, protect our agri-food industries, because without fertilizer, we don't have food.